back to Worldview. Before the break, I was speaking with gold banker and authority on money and precious metals, Philip Judge, and his business partner, Simon Heaps. And we've been speaking about gold ownership. Philip, you were talking over the break about the maximum benefits test. Can you explain what you mean?
Well, Stella, when your viewers are considering the private ownership of gold for financial insurance or protection, they've got to ask themselves the question, does it fit the maximum benefits test? And simply that's 8 questions. First of all, do you have outright ownership of that piece of gold when you buy it, or is it in fact owned by somebody else? The second one is, does it have religious significance, or is it religious collectible? The third one, is it privately non-government issued? In other words, made by a private organisation, not by a government. The next question, is it manufactured by a refinery that's a member of the London Bullion Market Association, a refinery which is accredited by the LBMA? The next question is, does it carry the hallmark of the refinery that made it, and is it accompanied by a certificate that attests or guarantees the quality and the fine weight of gold itself? The next question is it individually numbered and uniquely collectible? The next question, of course, is it privately shipped to you, shipped in a way that people don't know that you've actually received that piece of gold and that you own it? Privacy is so important with gold ownership. And I guess the final question, of course, is it manufactured by world-leading technologies? If you can say, when you're considering owning gold for financial protection and insurance, and if you can say yes to each of those 8 questions, then it does fit the maximum benefits test, which all of Unique's gold, all of our gold, does fit that maximum benefits test.
Simon, you mentioned the importance of religious collectible gold. Why is that important?
Confiscation is a big issue that's come up in today's forums in the area of gold and gold ownership, especially physical gold ownership. Personally, I prefer to own gold that has a religious symbol upon it. Now, under UN Charter, which most nations of the world are signatory to, is that religious artefacts are unconfiscatable. The same goes for nations that are signatory to the Geneva Convention.
Well, a question that always comes up is, how much gold should I own?
Well, there's this thing called the generationally wealthy, and these are people that are wealthy over multiple generations. And the one thing we've seen with the generationally wealthy is they've always owned gold and silver, regardless of whether they're living in a boom time or a recession or a depression or it's war or it's Holocaust. Regardless, they've always owned. The foundation, I guess, of their financial structuring has been some ownership of gold and silver, regardless of its price. It's so important to understand that is the foundation of wealth. And typically the generationally wealthy may own 5 to 20% of their total net worth in physical gold and silver, and they always have right down throughout history.
So now, what if someone wants to sell their gold? How do they go about doing that?
It's a great question, Stella, and in fact it's one we get asked a great deal. Of course, we always try to really point out the fact that buying gold is more about long-term protection and insurance than it is about simply selling it to take advantage of a price change in the gold or a price increase in the gold itself. But of course, at times people want to be able to sell gold back into the market. Well, the answer is it's very simple. In fact, in most cities today, there's more outlets or shops that will buy gold and pay you cash for it at the current gold price, whatever that is, than there are shops that actually sell gold for protection insurance or collectible purposes. So let me stress that again. There's more people in most capital cities in the world today that will buy your gold back and pay you cash for it at its current value than there are shops in fact selling gold for collectible purposes. So it's very, very liquidable. It's simply a matter of going to a shop and selling the gold and they'll pay you the cash. Or of course, people today can become very entrepreneurial and selling gold at a premium and at a value add through outlets such as eBay and other online facilities that provide that kind of service. But The last point on this is the fact that gold is the most liquid asset on planet Earth. It's been said that there's no time that gold hasn't been able to buy a hungry man or a family a meal or buy them safe passage out of a war-torn country or conflict. Gold is the most liquid asset, so that means that at any time you can convert it, whether that be to cash or something that you really desperately need at a given moment in time.
What happens if the price of gold falls?
Well, of course, the price of gold may go down, but over time it's tending to go up. And this really gets back to this monetary situation we've been talking about today. Gold will continue to rise over time because it's the only thing that's going to protect us from this inflationary world that we're living in, that we said earlier is global. So over time it will go up, but even if it does go down, I think people need to understand the importance of owning gold as an insurance and a form of financial protection. So we always counsel people to own gold and not so much be concerned about its current price so much as knowing the fact that you actually own some.
You've talked about being positioned correctly in the days ahead. What's your take on the future?
As I said earlier at the beginning of the interview, this has been the biggest deception in all of human history. It's run for nearly 100 years now, and it's entrapped 97% of the 7 billion people on planet Earth. This is the biggest fraud that's ever happened in history. Our idea is that people communicate this truth, expose this truth. By understanding this truth, you're already on the road to freedom. And the second thing is this private ownership of gold in the correct form is so important to protect yourself. You know, it's been said that if you own some gold in what's coming as we get to the end of this inflationary road, as Simon talked about earlier, then you're going to be part of the largest wealth transfer in all of history. It's not just us saying this. Many people now that understand this monetary fraud and understand the importance of private gold ownership are saying exactly the same thing, that the people who have the right form of gold will partake in the largest financial and wealth transfer in all of history. So that's an exciting opportunity, in fact, for people who understand what's coming up the road.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today.
Thanks, Stella. It's been great being with you today.